The soft hum of the aircraft was the only sound in the cabin, and even that felt distant as Harper Quinn slept deeper than she had in months. Somewhere over the Atlantic, halfway between New York and Zurich, her body had finally surrendered to exhaustion. Her last memory was securing her baby daughter, Ivy, in the bassinet and planning to lean against the window. But that wasn't where she woke up. When Harper stirred, it was the subtle movement beneath her cheek that alerted her first, not the chime of the seatbelt sign, not the flickering overhead lights, not even the quiet murmurs of passengers beginning to stir for landing. No, it was the warmth of someone's shoulders shifting beneath her, and the faint scent of sandalwood, crisp fabric, and something distinctly military. Her eyes opened slowly. She wasn't leaning against the window. Her head was on the shoulder of a man, and her 6-month-old daughter was not in the bassinet. Harper bolted upright, panic flooding every nerve in her body. Then she saw her, Ivy, peacefully asleep in the arms of the stranger beside her, her tiny body tucked securely against his chest. The man looked calm, almost motionless, with one protective hand spread across the infant's back. "I'm so sorry," Harper whispered, reaching instantly for her baby. "I didn't mean to." "She was crying," the man said, his voice low and steady. "You were out cold. I didn't want to wake you. She's fine." Harper's hands trembled as she took Ivy into her arms. The baby stirred slightly, then nestled back into her mother's chest, sighing in her sleep. The stranger adjusted his posture, not uncomfortable, just alert. His uniform, dark navy with no visible insignia, was perfectly pressed, and his face clean-shaven, jaw tight, dark brown hair cropped short. His eyes, a sharp forest green, studied Harper with practiced precision. "I'm Noah Bishop," he said, offering a hand. "Captain, U.S. Army. Intelligence Division." Harper blinked. "Harper Quinn." Noah nodded once. "Are you aware that you've been followed since JFK?" The words hit Harper like ice water. "Excuse me." "The man in 17C. Gray jacket, leather briefcase. He boarded right after you, and he hasn't stopped watching you since the gate in New York." Harper turned to glance behind her, but Noah placed a hand gently on her arm. "Don't look. It'll tip him off. Just listen." "I think you're mistaking me for someone else," she whispered. "You're Harper Quinn. You work with Nexus Horizons, coordinating relief shipments to refugee zones in Eastern Europe," he said calmly. "And 3 months ago, your team processed a shipment to a facility near Bucharest that was flagged for irregular manifests. One of those containers had encrypted hardware hidden inside, military grade, not meant for humanitarian use." Harper froze. Her mind raced. She had coordinated dozens of shipments, always triple-checking each one. "That's not possible," she said, her voice cracking. "Everything goes through customs clearance. It's all by the book." "Which is exactly why someone used you," Noah said. "They needed a clean handler. Someone who wouldn't ask questions. Someone they could hide behind." Harper stared at him. "I had nothing to do with any of that." "I know," he said quietly, "but they think you might have seen something. Or that you might start asking the wrong questions. And that makes you a liability." She held Ivy tighter, feeling the warm weight of her child anchoring her in this nightmare. "Why would anyone target us?" Harper asked, her voice nearly a whisper. Noah's eyes didn't waver. "Because it's not just about what you shipped. It's about what they believe your daughter is carrying." Harper stared at him, stunned. "What are you talking about? She's a baby. And someone thinks she's the key to something much bigger than she appears." The seatbelt sign chimed again. The aircraft began its final descent. Around them, passengers gathered their belongings. Overhead bins creaked open. None of it registered in Harper's mind. "What do I do?" she asked. Noah leaned in closer, lowering his voice so only she could hear. "When we land, don't go through customs. Follow me. Stay quiet. And whatever happens, don't let go of Ivy." Harper swallowed hard. "I don't even know you." "You don't have to trust me yet," he said, "but I need you to stay alive long enough to realize why you should." As the aircraft touched down on the Zurich runway and the plane began to taxi, Harper glanced toward the back of the cabin. Just for a second. She saw him. 17C. Gray jacket. Leather briefcase. No expression, but his eyes were locked on her. Watching. Waiting. Ivy stirred in her arms, oblivious to the danger. Harper turned back to Noah and gave the smallest of nods. "I'll follow you." Noah's jaw tightened, and he stood with casual ease, blending in as a regular traveler. But Harper could see it now. The subtle bulge of a concealed weapon beneath his jacket, the way his gaze swept the cabin every few seconds, the precise, military efficiency in his every movement. And in her gut, Harper felt the first real certainty she'd had in months. Her life was no longer her own. Something much bigger had already begun, and she had no idea how far it was about to go. The terminal lights were harsh after the dim calm of the plane. Harper clutched Ivy to her chest as she followed Noah down the jet bridge, her legs unsteady, her mind reeling. The steady rhythm of Ivy's soft breathing was the only thing keeping her grounded. All around them, people shuffled and stretched, checking phones, adjusting bags, yawning, chatting in multiple languages. Zurich Airport bustled with the casual chaos of international travel, but Harper felt like she was walking through a battlefield. Noah didn't speak. He moved with silent precision, his backpack slung casually over one shoulder, one hand free at his side ready. He guided her with subtle gestures, a slight tilt of his head, the brush of his fingertips on her elbow. Instead of joining the line for customs, he led her toward an inconspicuous service corridor to the left of the main hall. It was unmarked, just a gray door with a keypad beside it. Without missing a step, Noah entered a code. The door clicked open. Harper hesitated. Noah turned. Inside. Now. She stepped through, holding Ivy close. The door closed behind them with a soft thud. They were in a narrow hallway, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, industrial carpet beneath their feet, and absolute silence. Noah walked quickly. Harper struggled to keep up while trying not to jostle Ivy. "Where are we going?" she asked, breathless. "To secure office in the lower level," Noah replied. "A contact is waiting." "And what happens then?" "We figure out how to keep your daughter alive." Harper's stomach twisted. They reached a freight elevator at the end of the corridor. Noah swiped a key card from his pocket and pressed a button. The door slid open. They stepped inside. Only when the elevator began to descend did Harper realize her hands were trembling. "I don't understand any of this," she said. "I'm just a logistics coordinator. I manage spreadsheets, shipment schedules, supply routes. That's it. I haven't done anything wrong." "I believe you," Noah said calmly. "Then why is someone following me?" she asked, her voice cracking. "Why are you telling me my daughter is in danger?" He looked at her, not just at her, but through her, like he was weighing everything she wasn't saying aloud. "Because someone inside Nexus Horizons used your shipments to smuggle encrypted military tech. They used your clean reputation to get it past checkpoints, and now you're a liability." Harper shook her head. "But I didn't know." Noah's expression didn't change. "They don't care." The elevator stopped. The doors opened to a dim, concrete hallway with security cameras on every corner. A woman was waiting at the far end, early 30s, sharp blue eyes, a tactical jacket over civilian clothes. "Noah," she said as they approached. "Took you long enough." "Harper Quinn. Meet Riley Hart," Noah said. "Cyber Ops, Internal Counterintelligence." Riley nodded at Harper, but her gaze shifted immediately to Ivy. Her expression softened slightly. "She's even younger than I thought." 8 months, Harper said cautiously. "She's the reason we're here," Riley replied, turning to lead them down the hall. "Come on, we don't have much time." They entered a compact office with dark blinds drawn over thick glass. Multiple monitors lined one wall, showing airport surveillance feeds, satellite maps, and lines of encrypted data. Harper sat stiffly in a chair as Riley pulled up files on a tablet. "Let me ask you something, Harper," Riley began. "During your employment with Nexus, were you ever required to undergo health screenings for insurance or fieldwork clearance?" Harper blinked. Yes, just standard stuff. Blood work. A physical. They said it was routine. And your daughter? Did you share any medical records with them for dependent coverage? Of course, Harper said, frowning. Why does that matter? Riley turned the tablet around. It displayed a list of genetic profiles, long strings of code, graphs, test results, and next to one of them a name. Ivy Quinn. Harper felt her heart stutter. What is this? She whispered. It's a record pulled from a data breach at a biotech firm called Orion Directive, Riley explained. They've been quietly acquiring genetic data for years. Your daughter's profile is flagged as a high-interest subject. But how? Harper breathed. Her pediatrician in New York, Dr. Elise Morgan, has been sharing her test results with an unaffiliated research facility, including blood samples, neural response scans, and motor development logs. Harper's blood ran cold. Dr. Morgan she's been our doctor since Ivy was born. She's kind, careful. Why would she do that? Riley met her gaze evenly. Because she's been paid to. Noah spoke up. They've been watching your daughter since birth, monitoring her growth, tracking her reactions, everything. Harper clutched Ivy tighter. The baby stirred in her sleep, her tiny hand curling into the fabric of Harper's shirt. But why? Harper asked. What could they possibly want with her? Riley hesitated. Noah stepped in. Ivy's genetic profile is unique. She carries rare variations that enhance cognitive development, immune response, and neural elasticity. In plain terms, she's learning faster than any child her age should be, processing information differently, more efficiently. Harper's mouth went dry. She's just a baby. She's more than that to them, Riley said. She's the key to replicating abilities they've been trying to manufacture artificially for years. You're saying my daughter is some kind of experiment? No, Riley said firmly. She's not an experiment. She's a miracle. And they want to turn her into a blueprint. The door behind them buzzed. Noah was already moving, hand near his concealed weapon. Riley checked the monitors. We've got movement. 2 men in gray coats entered the customs hall 10 minutes ago. Same guys that followed her at JFK. Harper's breath caught in her throat. What do we do? Noah turned to her. We move. Now. But where? They'll find us again. Noah held her gaze. Only if we keep running. But if we fight, if we expose them, we might have a chance. Harper looked down at Ivy, now awake and blinking at her mother with wide, curious eyes. She thought about the life she had built, the sacrifices she'd made as a single mother, the long nights working late, and the quiet hope that all of it was for something better. And then she thought about a world where her child would never be safe. Okay, she said softly. Tell me what to do. Noah nodded once. First, we get you out of this airport. Then he turned to Riley. Call Wes. Tell him we're activating Protocol 7. Riley's eyes widened slightly. That's going to rattle some cages. It's time, Noah said. Let's show them they picked the wrong child to target. The garage beneath Zurich Airport was quiet, too quiet. Noah led the way, eyes scanning every shadow as Riley followed close behind, Harper in the middle, holding Ivy against her chest. The baby was fully awake now, but unusually calm, her gaze sharp and unblinking as they moved toward a black SUV parked near a loading dock. Noah opened the rear door. Get in. Harper didn't hesitate. She slid into the back seat and strapped Ivy into the car seat that had already been installed, as if they'd planned for this moment all along. Riley jumped into the driver's seat. Noah got in front beside her, his hand already gripping a comms device. Activate Channel 6, he said. A moment later, a crackling voice came through. Protocol 7 confirmed. Satellite link initiated. You've got a 2-minute window to clear the perimeter. Riley pulled out of the garage with precision. Not too fast to draw attention, but not slow enough to be cautious. They exited through a restricted service lane, bypassing airport checkpoints entirely. Harper's heart pounded with every turn. She looked at Noah. Where are we going? Somewhere we can get answers. he said without turning around. We're not the only ones who've been watching Orion Directive. Someone else has been gathering intel. Quietly, off-grid. Harper looked down at Ivy, who was staring out the window like she understood more than she should. Her small fingers tapped rhythmically on the car seat strap. Noah continued. There's a man named Elias Stroud. Used to work for DARPA. Brilliant cryptologist. He went dark 3 years ago when he discovered a pattern in Orion's research, something tied to genetic tracking and international adoptions. We think he has a list. A list? Harper asked. Of children like Ivy. Riley took a sudden left, plunging into a narrow road flanked by storage facilities and concrete barriers. They passed under a bridge, then through a hidden gate camouflaged behind a wall of rusted shipping containers. They parked in front of what looked like an abandoned warehouse. Noah stepped out first, signaling them forward. Harper followed, holding Ivy tight, every nerve on fire. Inside, the space was nothing like the exterior suggested. Rows of computer terminals blinked softly in the shadows. Surveillance monitors lined the walls. The air smelled like ozone and old concrete. A figure moved from behind a partition, tall, wiry, maybe 50, with silver-streaked hair and a beard that made him look more like an artist than a spy. You brought the child, he said. Harper instinctively stepped back. Noah raised a hand. Harper, this is Elias Stroud. He's the reason we're not dead yet. Elias stepped closer, his gaze moving to Ivy. For a long moment, he didn't say a word. Then he nodded. She's already showing pattern sensitivity. What does that mean? Harper asked. It means her mind sees structure in chaos, Elias said. She's not just smart. She's wired differently. Orion's been trying to replicate this for a decade. Your daughter, she's the real thing. Harper wrapped her arms around Ivy tighter. Elias motioned toward a table. You need to see something. They followed him to a workstation. He pulled up a digital map overlaid with glowing red points scattered across Europe and the U.S. These are known Orion facilities, some active, some dark, all connected by data packets tied to unauthorized medical trials, genetic sequencing, neural mapping, and this, he tapped a file, is their internal watch list. He opened a document. Harper gasped. It was a list of names, children, ages, locations, each with a code beside it and a single-word classification. Primary, carrier, dormant, deceased. Ivy's name was highlighted in green. Status, primary. Harper turned to Noah. What does that mean? It means she's the centerpiece of everything they've been building, Noah said grimly. She's not just one of many. She's the one they've been waiting for. Elias continued. I intercepted a message last week. Internal directive. Subject Q7P, that's Ivy, was to be retrieved by any means necessary. Harper's knees went weak. Riley caught her by the arm. Breathe, Harper. We're not going to let that happen. But why her? She whispered. Why my baby? Elias turned the screen to show a set of genetic sequences. These are markers for neuroplasticity, immune resilience, and something we haven't even identified yet. Ivy has all of them. Naturally, every attempt Orion has made to replicate those results has failed. But Ivy, she was born with them, and that terrifies them. Harper sat down hard in the nearest chair. This is insane. I didn't sign up for any of this. I just wanted to help people. I took a job that made me feel like I was doing something good. I never wanted. She's not your burden, Elias said gently. She's your legacy. And right now, she's the only thing standing between them and everything they want. Harper looked over at Ivy. The baby had pulled a small toy from Harper's bag and was turning it over in her hands with delicate precision, stacking the blocks by color. Not random, not baby play. Pattern recognition. It wasn't a fluke. She has no idea what's happening, Harper whispered. She trusts me to protect her. That's all she knows. Noah stepped closer. Then we do exactly that. A sharp beep rang from one of the monitors. Elias frowned and moved quickly to the terminal. What is it? Riley asked. Elias typed rapidly. Motion sensors. Outside, 3 signatures approaching the perimeter, armed. Noah's hand went to his holster. They found us. Harper stood, panic surging. How? Elias answered without looking up. Biometric tracking. Ivy's heartbeat, her neurosignals, even her scent profile. Orion's tech can follow her like a beacon if we don't scramble it. Then scramble it, Noah said. I need 2 minutes. You've got 60 seconds. Riley moved to Harper. Grab your bag. We're going through the tunnels. Tunnels? Harper asked, heart racing. Escape route under the building, Riley replied, built for exactly this situation. Elias worked furiously at the terminal. Scrambler initializing. Signal masking in 30 seconds. The lights flickered. Then a sound, boots on gravel. Metal against metal. They're at the gate, Noah said. Riley opened a hidden panel in the wall, revealing a narrow stairwell lit by emergency LEDs. Let's move. Harper clutched Ivy and followed her down the stairs. Noah was right behind them, weapon drawn. The stairwell opened into a concrete corridor that stretched into darkness. Elias's voice echoed through a headset Riley had synced to their comms. Masking active. You're invisible for now, but they'll breach in under 5. Then we better be ghosts, Noah muttered. As they ran, Harper felt Ivy stir in her arms, her tiny fingers wrapping tightly around Harper's thumb. She didn't cry. She didn't fuss. She just looked up at her mother with wide, calm eyes, and Harper realized something. Her daughter wasn't just a target. She was something they couldn't control, and that made her dangerous. For the first time since this nightmare began, Harper felt something new rise in her chest, stronger than fear. Rage. They think they can take her, she said under her breath. Noah heard her. They're going to learn otherwise. They emerged from the tunnel into a derelict train yard on the edge of the city. Rusted tracks, broken lights, and shadows that stretched too far. Riley led them to a hidden SUV parked beneath a tarp. She slid into the driver's seat. Noah jumped into the passenger side, and Harper climbed in back with Ivy, whose head now rested against her chest, still quiet, still alert. As Riley started the engine and pulled onto a narrow service road, Harper finally exhaled. How long can we keep doing this? She asked. Noah turned, his green eyes steady. Not forever. That's why we're not just running anymore. What do you mean? We're going to find out why they chose you, why Ivy's on that list, and we're going to burn every trace of their network until they can't touch her again. Harper looked down at her daughter. Ivy's small hand had found the edge of Harper's sleeve and was gripping it with surprising strength. She wasn't afraid. She never cried. She was watching, processing. I just don't understand how this started, Harper whispered. I never gave anyone permission to test my child. I never. Riley cut in. You didn't have to. They were already watching before she was born. Harper blinked. What? Your pregnancy was flagged by a data miner in Manhattan, Riley explained, glancing at her through the mirror. Your prenatal care records were routed through a private health analytics company with a silent investor connected to Orion Directive. They've been watching you since your 2nd trimester. Harper's stomach flipped. You're saying they knew about Ivy before I even had her? They knew about you before you knew about them, Noah said quietly. Harper was silent. Then she looked up. What are you not telling me? Noah hesitated. Riley didn't. Your name showed up on Orion's research archives. Not just Ivy's. Yours. That's not possible. Genetic indicators going back 2 generations, Riley continued. We think someone in your family line was part of an early study, one of Orion's first field tests. It was buried deep, encrypted beyond standard levels. But your DNA is a partial match to 3 subjects in a classified trial from 1995. Harper's mouth went dry. My parents died when I was a child. My grandmother raised me. No one ever told me. Because they didn't know, Noah said. Or because they were protecting you. Harper looked out the window. She remembered late nights in her grandmother's kitchen. Stories that never added up. Medical appointments that were always routine. The way her grandmother used to say, Some things are better left quiet. Harper had always thought it meant grief. Now she wasn't sure. Where are we going? She asked finally. To someone who might have answers, Noah said. A woman named Dr. Evelyn Wren. She was the geneticist who blew the whistle on Orion's early programs. Went into hiding after the first trial subjects started disappearing. She might know what's in Ivy's blood. And yours. Harper didn't respond right away. Then, quietly, she asked, if this started with me, does that mean Ivy's like this because of me? Noah looked back. It means you survived something that was never meant to be tested on humans, and she inherited your resilience. Riley drove in silence as the roads narrowed, the buildings giving way to hills and forest. Eventually, it pulled into a hidden compound nestled among the trees. A tall wire fence surrounded it, and a surveillance drone hovered silently above the gate. They were buzzed in without speaking. Dr. Evelyn Wren looked nothing like Harper expected. She was in her 60s, tall, severe, but her dark eyes were sharp and full of something Harper hadn't seen in most of the faces chasing her lately, compassion. You brought the girl, she said. Harper stepped forward. She has a name. It's Ivy. Dr. Wren tilted her head. And you're Harper Quinn. She looked at Noah. You weren't supposed to involve her yet. We didn't have a choice. Dr. Wren sighed. No, I suppose you didn't. She led them inside. The lab was compact but high-tech. Scanners, vials, biometric readers, and monitors lining every surface. A chamber in the center hummed softly. Why am I here? Harper asked, clutching Ivy. Dr. Wren motioned toward a padded seat. Because your daughter is a miracle, and miracles make powerful enemies. Harper sat down. You work for them? Dr. Wren nodded. A long time ago. Orion was originally a public, private research partnership with the Department of Defense. We were looking for ways to boost cognitive functions in children born in high-risk areas, malnutrition, trauma, prenatal exposure to toxins. I thought I was helping. Her voice turned bitter. Then the trial group started showing symptoms, hypersensitivity, insomnia, advanced speech before age 2. And then, one by one, the kids began to vanish. No reports. No autopsies. Just gone. Harper held Ivy tighter. I ran, Dr. Wren said. Stole what I could. Hid what I found. And I've been waiting for someone like her to come back into the picture. Harper looked her in the eye. What do you mean? Like her? Dr. Wren pulled up a screen and displayed Ivy's profile next to a faded file marked Subject 14B, 1995 trial cohort. The 2 DNA strands lined up. Not identical, but close. Your mother, Dr. Wren said. She was 14B. Harper's breath caught. That's not possible, she whispered. She died in a car accident when I was 6. She wasn't supposed to have children, Dr. Wren said. They told her the neural modifications might interfere with fertility, but somehow she did. And that child was you. Harper stared at the screen. Her world, already off its axis, shattered further. All this time, she whispered. All this time I thought I was just normal. You were never normal, Dr. Wren said softly. You were proof that they didn't control everything. Ivy stirred in her arms. Harper looked down at her daughter, wide-eyed, alert, and innocent. You said you've been waiting, she said to Dr. Wren. Waiting for what? For someone brave enough to expose them. Someone they couldn't erase. Noah stepped forward. Then let's give them a reason to panic. Harper looked at them all, Riley, Noah, Dr. Wren, and finally back to her daughter. She thought about her childhood, about silence and loss, about how Ivy would never get to be just a child unless something changed. Her voice was quiet but resolute. Then we fight. Night had fallen over the compound, and a storm brewed in the Swiss sky. Dark clouds heavy with the kind of rain that made people stay inside and secrets rise to the surface. Inside Dr. Wren's lab, the air buzzed with urgency. Noah stood at the workstation reviewing security footage from airport terminals and border checkpoints across Europe. Riley compiled encrypted files. Dr. Wren reviewed DNA sequencing with the intensity of someone who knew time was bleeding out fast. And Harper, she was no longer watching from the sidelines. She paced the room with Ivy in her arms, her mind racing, connecting dots, questioning everything she'd once accepted. "Tell me what it would take to bring them down," she said suddenly, voice cutting through the quiet hum of machines. Everyone turned toward her. "I'm serious. If Ivy's the reason they're afraid, then we use that. We expose them publicly. The genetic data, the trafficking through humanitarian fronts, the surveillance of minors, all of it." Riley narrowed her eyes. "You're suggesting we go public. I'm suggesting we put everything in the light before they can bury it again." Dr. Wren sighed. "They'll come harder, faster. They won't just want to capture Ivy anymore. They'll want to silence you. Permanently." Harper looked at her daughter. Ivy sat on the counter nearby, stacking colored cubes with eerie focus, murmuring numbers softly under her breath. Not baby talk. Sequencing. "She deserves to grow up free," Harper said. "If I have to risk everything for that, so be it." Noah crossed his arms. "Then we make a plan." For the next hour, they worked as a team. Noah would coordinate the secure drop with 2 major media outlets. Riley would leak critical documents anonymously through encrypted channels. Dr. Wren would prepare a scientific report that couldn't be ignored. Harper would record a public statement, a mother's voice, a face to the statistics. The risk was enormous, but the story they had, if told right, could destroy Orion Directive. Just as the final details were being discussed, an alert chimed from Riley's terminal. Everyone stopped. "What is it?" Noah asked. Riley's fingers flew across the keyboard. "Encrypted access attempt on our server. It's coming through the Vienna satellite link." "Hold on." She paused. "Someone's requesting a handshake authentication with a level 5 passkey. That's impossible. Only Dr. Torres had that level of clearance, and she disappeared." Harper finished. Riley turned, her face pale. Or she didn't. The screen blinked once. Then a single message appeared on the monitor. "If you want the rest of the files, follow the mark signal." T. Harper whispered. "Torres." Riley scanned the metadata. This wasn't spoofed. The encryption is real. It's her. Dr. Wren moved closer. "The signal is bouncing off at least 5 satellite hubs. She's gone deep underground. But she's alive." Noah's jaw tightened. "If she has the rest of the files, we need them. If we publish now, we hit hard. But if we wait for what she has, we end them completely." A beat of silence passed before Harper spoke. "I want to go." Everyone turned to her. "She knows Ivy. She monitored her for months. If she's reaching out now, it means something. Maybe she's trying to fix what she broke." Noah stepped forward. "It could be a trap." Harper didn't flinch. "It's worth the risk." Ivy babbled softly behind her, tapping one of the blocks against the table rhythmically. Riley looked at the screen again. The signal's triangulating to a location in northern Italy, a small town near Lake Garda. Industrial ruins. It's isolated but reachable. "I'll go with her," Noah said immediately. "No," Dr. Wren interrupted. "If it's really Dr. Torres, she might not show if she sees military anywhere near. She'll want to see Harper alone. I'm not sending her in unprotected." "I won't be alone," Harper said, surprising them all. She reached for her bag, pulled out a secure communicator, and held it up. "You'll have eyes and ears. Every second. If I get the files, we use them. If I don't make it out." "You'll make it," Noah said. Their eyes locked, and something passed between them. Not just trust. Something more. Harper leaned down, kissed Ivy's forehead, and whispered, "You're going to be okay. I promise." Then she turned to Riley. "Give me a car. I leave in an hour." 6 hours later, the town was nearly abandoned. Old factories stood like skeletons under a steel-gray sky. Harper's car rolled slowly down cracked asphalt, past shuttered windows and rusted gates. The location signal pulsed from her GPS like a heartbeat. She parked near an old textile mill. The place smelled like rain and rust. Inside, the air was thick with dust. Graffiti covered the walls. Water dripped from broken pipes. But there, near the back, beneath a ruined metal staircase, a lantern flickered, and someone waited in the shadows. Harper approached slowly, heart hammering. The figure stepped forward. A woman in her early 40s. Dark eyes, tired face, a scarf wrapped tightly around her neck. Thin, but sharp, like someone who had survived too much. Harper. The voice was unmistakable. Dr. Torres? The woman nodded. I wasn't sure you'd come. I almost didn't. There was silence for a long moment. Then Dr. Torres spoke again. I tried to protect her. I swear to you. You injected her with trackers, Harper snapped. I removed them when I disappeared, Torres said quickly. That's why they've been having trouble finding you lately. I erased all medical records, changed my identity, but there was one thing I couldn't destroy. She held up a USB drive, the original files, everything, the early experiments, the falsified adoptions, the genetic engineering protocols, Ivy's data, and yours. Harper stepped closer. Why now? Because the board changed hands 2 months ago. Orion's no longer just studying children. They're starting recruitment. Harper froze. Recruitment. They're building private programs to train gifted minors. Isolated. Controlled. You don't get to say no. She extended the drive. You can stop it. Harper took it, but before she could speak, a sharp sound echoed behind them, gravel shifting. Boots. Dr. Torres paled. You were followed. No, Harper whispered. They must have traced your signal. A voice called out from the shadows. Well done, Harper. A man stepped into the lantern light, tall, clean-cut, dressed like a civilian, but carrying the posture of someone who never missed a shot. I always knew you'd lead us to her. Torres stepped between them. You don't have to do this. The man raised a silenced pistol. I'm afraid I do. A shot rang out. Torres collapsed to the floor. Harper screamed, but didn't run. She backed up slowly, clutched the USB, and whispered into her communicator. Now, at that moment, 3 flashbangs detonated. From the windows above, a team rappelled in, black gear, night vision goggles, zero hesitation. Noah, Riley, and 2 agents Harper had never met. In seconds, the shooter was subdued. Noah ran to Harper. Are you okay? She didn't answer. She was kneeling over Dr. Torres, who lay bleeding, clutching Harper's hand. I'm sorry, the doctor whispered. I didn't know they'd take it this far. Harper swallowed the lump in her throat. You gave me what I needed. Rest now. Torres smiled weakly. She's stronger than they think. Then she went still. Noah placed a hand on Harper's shoulder. She stood, eyes burning, holding the drive tight in her fist. We finished this, she said. The lights of Zurich glittered below like a field of stars, but from the window of the safe house, they looked cold, distant. Harper stood silently beside the glass, clutching the USB drive like it was made of glass and fire at once. Behind her, the room buzzed with controlled chaos. Riley worked at a bank of laptops, decrypting the contents of the drive Dr. Torres had died protecting. Elias, patched in remotely from another site, assisted with protocol cracking. Noah paced in the background, speaking into a comm line connected to 3 different networks of allies, journalists, whistleblowers, and rogue intelligence agents. Ivy sat in a playpen near the center of the room, quietly turning the pages of a children's book, lips moving like she was mimicking the words without sound. She's memorizing it, Harper murmured. Noah looked up. What? She's not just playing, she said. She flips the same page 3 times, then turns it. She's storing the images. Noah approached slowly, voice low. You've noticed it too, haven't you? Harper nodded. She does things no child her age should. Patterns, numbers, even remembering faces on TV. It used to feel like quirks. Now it feels like prophecy. Noah finished. They stood in silence for a moment. Then Riley spun her chair around. We're in. Everyone gathered around the screen. File after file began opening, Real-time data from Orion Directive's core servers. Names, research logs, trial dates, video footage, payment records, everything. There were logs from over a dozen countries. Pediatricians who had been quietly sharing patient data. Adoption agencies falsifying identities. Foster homes acting as genetic control labs. A list of more than 300 children with classifications like developmental subject alpha, carrier gene inconclusive, observation, dormant potential. Harper's breath caught when she saw it. Subject H. Quinn, genetic line variant active. And just beneath it, Subject I. Quinn, replicate expression, enhanced stability. What does that mean? She asked. Elias's voice came through the comms. It means they're calling Ivy the successful result of 2 generations of genetic work. Your mother was the experiment. You were the carrier. Ivy is the outcome. Harper stared at the screen. I'm not special, she said numbly. I was just a bridge. Noah leaned closer. No, you're the one who gave her a chance to be more than an experiment. Riley's voice cut through. Uploading to every major outlet now. I'm pushing the data to encrypted cloud servers and triggering an auto leak to 3 journalists who've been waiting for this moment. Are you sure? Harper asked. If we don't hit them now, Riley said, they'll erase everything. We might not get another shot. Harper nodded slowly. Then do it. Riley hit the final key. The upload began. Within seconds, notifications exploded on the other monitors. Red alerts from media outlets, breaking news banners appearing online, social media feeds lighting up like a wildfire. The truth was out. 40 minutes later, the safe house went quiet. Noah stood near the window, speaking with contacts on the ground. Riley was coordinating with whistleblower protection teams. Elias confirmed multiple facilities had already been shut down. Harper sat beside Ivy, who now leaned sleepily against her mother's chest. I don't know what happens after this, she whispered. I do, Noah said, kneeling beside them. They run, and we build something better in the space they leave behind. Ivy murmured something unintelligible, and Harper noticed her gaze wasn't on her mother. She was looking across the room at the screen, at a name. Harper followed her daughter's eyes. On the list of subjects, just beneath Ivy's name, was a new entry. Subject L. Quinn. Estimated birth, October. Harper froze. Her heart stilled. Noah read the line a second later and turned to her, stunned. Are you? I didn't know, she whispered. Then realization dawned. The prenatal scans. The nausea. The exhaustion she had written off as stress. All of it made horrifying, miraculous sense. Elias's voice returned. I'm picking up cross data from the Vienna stream. Harper, they already knew. She clutched Ivy tight. I won't let them touch either of my children. Noah stood and placed a hand over hers. They'll never get close. The room fell quiet again, but not with fear, with resolve. What began as a mother protecting her child had become something far greater. A war not just for truth, but for the right of children to exist free from being engineered, tracked, or owned. Harper looked down at Ivy. The baby stared up at her with wide, knowing eyes. Eyes that saw more than they should. Eyes that now carried hope for more than just one future. The world didn't take long to react. Within 24 hours, news agencies from every continent were reporting on the leaked files. The term Orion Directive began trending in over 40 countries. Political leaders demanded investigations. Lawmakers were cornered by reporters. Parents began calling pediatricians. Former employees started talking. And children, once invisible, were suddenly at the center of a global reckoning. Harper watched it all unfold on the monitors inside the safe house. Ivy curled beside her on the sofa, asleep with her hand resting on her mother's belly, as if she already knew she wouldn't be the only one soon. But amid the flood of attention came something else. A knock on the digital door. It was Riley who noticed it first. She stood abruptly from her desk and turned to Harper and Noah. We've got a problem. Noah rose. Talk to me. Someone just pinged the secure network with the United States Department of Homeland Security key. Level 10. They want to talk. Immediately. Harper tensed. Government. More than that, Riley said, pulling up a video feed. They're calling from Geneva. Joint Task Force. And they're not alone. She clicked the screen. A video window opened. 3 people appeared, seated behind a polished table, flags behind them. One was American. One was British. One was Swiss. The man in the center, a gray-haired, clean-cut figure with a steel gaze, leaned forward. Miss Quinn. Captain Bishop. Ms. Hart. My name is Director Langston. I represent a special coalition convened in response to the Orion leaks. First, we owe you our gratitude. What you've exposed is not only horrific, it is unprecedented. Harper remained still. But, Langston continued, the public is panicking. The children identified in those files are at risk, targeted by fringe groups, conspiracy theorists, people who either want to exploit them or silence them, and that includes your daughter. Noah's jaw clenched. What are you proposing? Harper asked carefully. Langston nodded. A global protective registry. Confidential. Operated under the umbrella of NATO. We'll relocate families like yours. Provide full security, education, medical care, and anonymity. Ivy would be safe. Harper narrowed her eyes. At what cost? Langston was silent for a beat. Cooperation. Full access to Ivy's medical development. A non-invasive partnership with our scientific teams. You'd be consulted, but we'd reserve rights to study her over time, to help others. Harper laughed, cold and bitter. That sounds familiar. It's not Orion, Langston said firmly. No, Harper said. It's the same monster, just with a nicer suit. You can't stay in the shadows forever, Miss Quinn, he warned. She'll always be a target, but with us. She becomes property. Noah cut in. Let me guess. You'll give her a name change, new passport, and a number tattooed somewhere invisible. Langston's eyes hardened. This is your last opportunity for controlled safety. If you walk away, we won't stop others from coming for her, and they won't be as polite. The call ended before Harper could speak again. The silence in the room was thunderous. Finally, Riley broke it. Well, that escalated. They're scared, Noah said. She's the proof they can't contain. Harper rose and began pacing. They're right about one thing, she said. We can't keep running. What are you thinking? Riley asked. That we make it impossible for them to ever put her back in a box. That night, Harper recorded a message. She didn't send it to news outlets. She sent it to people, to parents, to scientists, to teachers and journalists and whistleblowers and mothers who had once been told to stay quiet. The video went viral in under 6 hours. In it, Harper stood in a sunlit room beside Ivy, who giggled and ran her hands along a table covered in wooden shapes and puzzles. My name is Harper Quinn, she began, her voice calm and steady. I'm a mother, a daughter, a product of a lie, and now I'm telling you the truth. She explained everything, not just the science, but the fear, not just the experiment, but the violation, and not just the story of Ivy, but the story of a system that tried to own a future that wasn't theirs. I will not raise my child in a world where she is only safe if she is silent, Harper said. We don't need protection that comes with chains. We need change, real change. So today, I'm asking you to stand with us, not as soldiers or scientists, but as protectors of truth, because she won't be the last child born different, and the next one might be yours. When the message ended, Ivy smiled and waved at the camera, unaware that her face had just launched a revolution. 2 days later, Langston resigned. Orion Directive's executive board was placed under arrest. New legislation began forming across Europe and the U.S. regarding genetic ethics and biometric data protections. And most importantly, something shifted. People began speaking up, and they began protecting each other. Harper declined the task force's second offer. Instead, she and Noah, with Riley and Elias's help, created the Foundation for Unbound Futures, a private, international organization that helped relocate families affected by Orion's reach. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't always safe. But it was honest. It was real. and it gave children like Ivy something priceless. A future without surveillance. A future where they got to choose. 7 years later, northern coast of Maine. The waves crashed against the jagged rocks below the cottage, their rhythm steady and patient, like time itself was breathing. Harper stood on the wooden porch barefoot, her sweater pulled tight around her as the wind swept through the coastal pines. Her gaze drifted toward small figure down near the water. Ivy, now 7 years old, barefoot in the sand, her long dark hair whipped by the wind, her hands drawing precise spirals in the wet earth with a piece of driftwood, and beside her the boy, no more than 3 years old, his curls bouncing as he ran circles around her, his laughter cutting through the wind. Luca, Harper's son, born in silence, raised in truth, hidden but never afraid. Inside the house, Noah stoked the fire. His hands were calloused from manual work now, not guns or codes or war, just life, real life. He caught Harper's eye through the window and gave her a soft smile. She smiled back. 7 years had passed since the fall of Orion Directive, and the world had changed slowly, stubbornly, but truly. The foundation for unbound futures had grown into a global network. Thousands of children had been found, freed, and protected. Laws had changed. Surveillance programs had been dismantled. New ethical standards were written, many by people who had once been test subjects themselves. But the most powerful change didn't happen in courtrooms or headlines. It happened in the quiet, in classrooms where gifted children learned without fear, in clinics where consent mattered, in homes like Harper's, where the extraordinary was allowed to be ordinary. Ivy ran back up the path toward the house, Luca close behind her. Her feet barely touched the earth. Her eyes lit up with questions before she even reached her mother. "Mom." Luca counted to 60 in perfect French. "I didn't even teach him that yet." "Did you?" Harper laughed. "Nope. Must have come from those library books he keeps sneaking into bed." Ivy beamed. "He's like me." "Yes," Harper said, brushing a strand of hair from her daughter's face, "but also completely himself." They went inside as the sun began to dip toward the ocean. Dinner was simple: soup, bread, warmth. Afterward, Harper sat with Noah while the children drew quietly by the fire. "I've been thinking," Harper said. Noah raised an eyebrow. "Dangerous." She smiled. "About the future. About telling the whole story. All of it. The parts we left out, the ones only we know." Noah leaned back. "You sure the world's ready for that?" "Maybe not," she said. "But Ivy is." They both looked toward the girl. She wasn't just brilliant. She was kind, curious, brave. She was everything they'd hoped she could be. Not because of what had been done to her, but in spite of it. That night, after the children were asleep, Harper sat at her desk and began to write. Not a report, not a leak, not a headline. A story. One that began on an airplane, with a woman who fell asleep on a stranger's shoulder and woke up in the center of a war she never asked for. A story about choice, about sacrifice, about fighting not with weapons, but with truth and grit and love. She wrote until the stars came out. Then she stood, walked to the children's room, and knelt beside Ivy's bed. The girl stirred slightly in her sleep, then rolled over and mumbled something barely audible. "Are we still safe?" Harper brushed her hair back and whispered, "We are now." And she meant it, because the story was over, and the future, the one she had fought for with every breath, was finally theirs.